Hello. Oh, hey. Do you see a little red dot?
Yep.
Okay, good. We're recording. Hey, I'm Tony Jones. That's Jay Bakker. I don't know which side of the screen you're going to be on. And we're talking about Brennan Manning's book, which is called All Is Grace, and it's his autobiography. Well, it's his memoir, really, a ragamuffin memoir that he co-wrote with another guy. And
What's the difference between an autobiography and a memoir?
an autobiography is more of like, I was born, and then I was raised here, and then I did this. And a memoir is more like a little more free-flowing, you know?
Yep.
So, you endorse this book, and I know that he's like, Brennan Manning is one of your big heroes. And I have a more ambivalent kind of feeling about Brennan Manning. So I just thought it'd be fun, because we're doing this book club at Pathos on this book, to ask you what it is about Brennan Manning in general and about this book in particular that you love so much.
Well, I mean, Brennan Manning in particular is just the idea of he's like the ragamuffin guy. You know, he's the grace guy. I went through such a period of self-hatred in my life, like spiritually, and you know, like where I thought God hated me and I hated myself. I mean, you know, and when you read Brennan's books, you realize God is love, God is grace, God is hope. You know, it's stuff that R2D2's up there. It's transformative stuff. You know, when you're in that kind of a situation, and you know, that whole accepting that you're accepted, which actually is from Tillich, but he was the first time I ever read any Tillich was through Brennan Manning.
Brennan Manning got you to read Paul Tillich?
Well, he didn't tell me to read Paul Tillich, but he uses Tillich's quotes and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of like building off of that, but you could tell he has more of an influence of Tillich's preaching than his philosophy.
Well, one of the things that some of us are ambivalent about, look, you and I have both been through pretty shitty things in our lives, right? Like I'm not going to stand up and wave the flag that everything's gone perfectly the way I wanted it to, or something like that. But you know, Brennan Manning his struggles have been pretty public. His struggles with alcoholism. He struggled with lying. Like I wrote in one of my books about this great story that he inspired the book The Giving Tree, you know?
Yeah.
And it turns out he made the whole thing up. It was a total lie. And
sure he made that one up?
yeah, like what's his name? The guy who Sherwood, whatever his name, who wrote it, said, you know, I've never even met Brennan Manning. He didn't inspire this book.
Wow.
But so Brennan's had some struggles, you know.
Yeah.
And yet what's interesting to me is he's been pretty honest about those and has been able to maintain his stature as a leading Christian speaker until his health has fallen off in the last couple of years. So is he a model for you in that way too? Like he hasn't backed away from the spotlight even when he's had some pretty embarrassing things befall him.
For me, that's like living in grace. That's why this book's so powerful, because he goes through like, oh, I went to my, you know, this was supposed to go to my father or grandmother's
mother's funeral, and he's too drunk.
And I was too drunk and blacked out for 3 days. The book doesn't end with like, you know, and then I saw the light and Jesus changed me. Like I was looking at the times, like, and I put some of the history together, and I remember events that I was supposed to be at, or the ones that I was at, where he had been, you know, talking about being drunk the week before, or things like that. And to me, it was a man who understood grace and had a lot of demons and a lot of struggles that he couldn't get a hold of.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is he knew grace. And to me, that's what grace is. Grace is unfair. It doesn't make sense. But you can't say that when you're looking at your whole life in front of you. And everybody goes, oh, it's a license to sin. But the fact is that it's the grace that everybody fears. The grace is that God loves you just the way you are, and you might not change. That terrifies people. But
yeah.
That's, to me, the reality of grace. I mean, I believe grace is transformative, but, you know, addictions are hard things to break.
Right, and you know about that side of life, too, which plays a big part in this memoir. I remember stories of, like, he would speak at the youth specialties conventions.
Yeah.
And I know that Mike Yaconelli, who was part of the Notorious Sinners group that Brennan's been a part of, had to like call him out or tell him, I can't have you back to speak at the youth workers convention and you got to stop drinking. Like, you got to get a hold of this. But it seems like he just couldn't. But you have been able to get a hold of that addiction side of your personality.
But I mean, I always see like it's by grace in so many ways that I do have a hold of it. I mean, I see people every day leave Alcoholics Anonymous, leave the program, see their lives fall apart, and I go, wow, I'm grateful that's not me. You know? And unfortunately that's part of the program. You know, is that very few people get well from alcoholism. Most people die from it. So you're seeing somebody with a very public struggle who's decided that I'm going to continue on preaching. And no matter, even if some of his stories that he's told are lies, they've transformed my life in such a powerful way that it's given me hunger for ministry. When I see him speak, the last time I saw him speak was probably like 3 or 4 years ago. Well, I guess 4 or 5, 5 or 6 years ago. And, I realized like I had taken like 15 sermons out of like 3 of his talks. The guy had a huge influence on me. Yeah. It's like every time I hear it, it was just like fresh air just coming into the room and being able to breathe again. And when I go back and look at it, even when I'm all boggled in my mind with theology and doubt and philosophy and, talking to you and talking to Pete and I'm going crazy, I can open up his book. Same with Yakinelli. And read those books and come back to a very basic place of, okay, this is why I'm here. This is why I do this. This is the message that drives me to get up every day. Because I believe if the church followed these guys as messages of grace, it would be a better place. And if we said, okay, when our preachers, get drunk and black out and don't show up for a few days, or struggle with not telling the truth, and we, sit with them, we talk with them, we ask them to, change. Yeah. But we don't just say, if you don't change, you're gone forever.
It's interesting you say that.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that it seems to me is unique about Brennan Manning on the scene of kind of Christian authors and speakers, is that there are plenty of people out there who either, kind of fall from grace, as they say, and then just go away and you never hear from them again, or they take a time away and then they come back and say, okay, I've licked that. I mean, it's Ted Haggard saying, I'm not gay. I had a weak moment or a weak period of my life, but now I'm totally faithful to my marriage and I don't struggle with those feelings ever anymore. And we look at that and go, please, dude, that is totally not believable. Yeah. But then you got Brennan Manning basically getting up to give a talk in front of 1,500 youth workers saying, like, I fell off the wagon last week. I got totally drunk. Yeah. And I did some really stupid things.
I mean, if I fell off the wagon, I don't know if you guys would still have me around.
We've actually talked about no.
Yeah, how can we get him to drink? No, but you know what I'm saying? Like this book is not about. I mean, this book is like I lie, I drink, I black out, I've told stories that aren't true, and I mean, he's not trying, and he's not making excuses. Right. I mean, he's still alive. This is usually the type of thing that would be like, okay, I wrote this. When I'm dead, release it. And I think that shows the power of grace right there. That shows that he understands grace probably better than me and you or anybody. Yeah. The fact that he's like, I'm going to put it all out there. I'm alive. He's fragile. He's an old man, but he still put it all out there. Yeah. He didn't put a bow on it. I mean, he gets it. And the fact is no matter how much it angers other people, or they say, well, he's a liar, he's this or that, he's like, well, as he always says in his thing, I know the Father's quite fond of me.
Yeah, that's a great line. Yeah.
He knows where he stands. Yeah. He really knows where he stands with the Father. Yeah, yeah. And to me, I'd give anything for that. That's a priceless thing. And you get attacked for that, but he's like, oh, well, I know where I stand. How awesome is that?
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking about it, and I know your endorsements on the inside, and I hope
with the paperback it'll be on the outside.
Hopefully. So this is Tony Jones and Jay Bakker talking about All Is Grace, the ragamuffin memoir of Brennan Manning. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.